There's really nothing more depressing, annoying, cringy, and downright boring as the local news. Yes, everyone has at least one of these predictable yet completely bought and paid for quote-unquote news outlets in their area. I mean, how I live in a small town that's completely void of anything interesting. And even we have 3 different local news outlets for some reason. Each one of them talking about how excited everyone is for new Chick-fil-A that's being built for the past 3 months. But nostalgia aside, I truly do feel anxiety and an overall annoyance anytime I hear one of these generic, interchangeable, and highly replaceable news anchors open up their generic and all-out phony, bought and taught broadcasting voicemails. So in today's video, I'm going to go over 15 reasons why pretty much everybody hates the local news, unless you're a boomer. Number 15, local sports. And when I say local sports, I'm not even talking about the NFL or NHL or Major League Baseball. I'm talking about high school basketball, high school football, and unless you're in the deep, deep South, nobody cares. They always have some really annoying sports caster announcer. They couldn't get a job in the majors and may end up on the local news just spouting about how excited they were about the game. And then comes the interviews with the obscure coaches that nobody knows, or the quarterback that really looks like a deer stuck in the headlights and has no idea what to say. And the worst part about it is this takes up like a quarter of the entire newscast. The entire back end of the show is literally about local teams that I could care less about. Number 14, weather. I live in one of the most boring, predictable climates in the northern hemisphere. We can literally go 6 months without seeing the sun. It's cloudy all the time around here, even in the summer. Yet for some reason, our local weather king just cannot get anything right. When they say it's going to snow, it does it. When they say it's not going to snow, it does. The problem is, they never admit when they get it wrong. They'll just say, well, the storm looks to have went a little further south than we previously predicted. But when do we really even need them to begin with? If I wanted to look at the weather, I can either look outside, I have phone alerts on my cell phone, and if there was a school cancellation, I'd literally get a text alert. Number 13 is copy and paste news. I have 3 separate local news stations, and they all report on the exact same story at the exact same time. It's literally like somebody's feeding them the news that they want other people to hear. All it is recycled garbage news. None of these local news stations stand out from each other. If I heard a specific story on my local 11 news, I can go to 33 and hear the exact same story with the same generic talking points, literally ran during the same segment. Number 12 is biased national politics. Now, your local news might not be as blatant as some of the bigger networks such as Fox, CNN, MSNBC, but trust me, there's definitely a bias. Now, it doesn't really matter what side of the political owl that you're on, but a lot of these different local news stations are owned by the same company, and if they have a political agenda, well, it's going to start showing through when they start talking about specific news stories. And again, it might not be as blatant as a lot of the big hitters out there, but you can definitely pick up on their snarky, condescending comments when they talk about some of the stories they cover. Number 11 is social media coverage. This is what I consider lazy journalism. And if it's a slow news day, I can assure you that you see some really lame, boring cat video that was clipped off of YouTube, or a video of a squirrel chasing a cat that was eating a mouse. You get the point. If I wanted to see these types of videos, I would just go to Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok and watch them myself. Now, number 10 is the one that drives me the most crazy, and it's the local commercials that they play on the local news. These things drive me absolutely crazy. They will literally run the same Kia Buy My Car commercial over and over and over again. Most of the commercials that they run are horribly produced. The color grading, the audio, just everything about them is bad. You can tell that every single commercial on these channels were produced by the same media company that have no idea how to use green screen. There are only so many crappy restaurant or plumbing company commercials I'm willing to watch. I know I keep going on about this, but it's really awkward to see somebody up there that's scared to death to be in front of a camera, but decides to do the camera shot anyway because, it's something cool to do. So yeah, anyway, local news commercials are the absolute epitome of trash, and I can't stand them. Now, number 9 sort of touches base on the same thing as local commercials, but it's slippery advertising in a different way. Instead of buying ad space on a local news station, they do it very tricky and they promote something that looks like it's a legit news story, but it's actually a paid and bought commercial. Now, this is just one of many examples that I could use, but I guarantee you've seen at least one of these segments. I'll set it up for you. The interviewer brings in an expert, and they're sitting in the studio with two chairs. They're staring at each other, and the interviewee's talking about ergonomics and how much better your back would feel if you had the proper chair. Now, a lot of the times, they'll use keywords that'll prop up somebody's ear that's suffering from back pain, such as health, safety, feeling better. Once they get that all out of the way and they do their spiel, the interviewer will ask where a good place would be to buy one of these ergonomic chairs, or directly after the segment, they'll run a commercial on a furniture company. But the reason this is so sleeky is because people watching this segment believe that the news company is just there to give them some helpful information about, well, back safety, and they don't realize that 99% of the time, these are just ad placements. Listen, the local news is there to make money, and how they make money is through sales and ad revenue. Now, number 8 is quantity over quality. Local news broadcasts 4 times a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, once in the evening, and once late at night. And I can assure you, even if you live in the largest cities, there's just not that much news going on to fill all of these spots. At least not interesting news. That's why you see so many segments on new car washes opening up, a new dollar stores being put somewhere. It's just generic information that they need to fill the news hours with. And that sort of leads us into number 7, constant repeats of the same news all day. Again, there's just not that much news going on to fill all those hours. So not only do you have to hear the horrendously boring story of the new car wash being built once, you have to listen to it 4 times, if not more than that, with their constant news break-ins during people's favorite soap opera. But let's say you missed that breaking news story of the new car wash and you wanted to go to their website. Well, that brings us to number 6, horrendous websites. I don't know what it is with these local news stations, but every single one of them have the worst website layouts I've ever seen in my life. Even if you did want to read one of the stories that they ran 15 times that day, it's literally impossible to just find the story. Even weather. You would think something as basic as the weather would be easy to find, but you're gonna jump through the hoops of their websites and all their crappy ads just to finding information on whether or not if it's going to rain or snow or whatever that day. I really don't understand why all of these local news station websites are so bad. I kind of believe that they're just finding these boilerplate website setups from these companies, but I've literally seen easier and way better functioning websites from somebody that just set something up on Blogger. Number 4, if it bleeds, it leads. These people love drama. I don't think I've ever watched a full local news broadcast and left feeling happy. Newscasters are no different than ambulance-chasing lawyers. They will happily pass up any heartfelt story for one that's full of carnage and destruction. You see, the local news thrives on your fear. The more negative it is, the more ratings they'll get. You would think that my local neighborhood is a war zone from everything I see on my local news station. And sure, every city has crime, but not to the extent that the news portrays. They want you thinking as soon as you're going to walk out of your house, you're going to get carjacked or a knife held to your throat. God forbid that happens, but if it does, you're making the lead story. Number 3, random stories from anywhere in the world. Once again, this is just filler news, but what a lot of the local news stations do is just try to find the most popular stories of the day or week and compress them into their cheesy newscast. Remember, news isn't happening all day every day, but they still need to make those hours up, so what do? Well, they, once again, copy and paste. If you live in Idaho, chances are you really don't care what's going on in Michigan. Why, if I live in Ohio, do I care a tiger escaped from a zoo in San Francisco? Number 2, no follow-up and no accountability. Sometimes a news station may actually run a story that you might be interested in. Maybe it's a neighbor or somebody that you know. Maybe there was a car accident that involves somebody that you love, and you just needed to know more information about it. Well, once they run a story like that, it's pretty much done and dead. Well, as long as it's not a violent crime, then they'll run it non-stop. But if there was a story that you were interested in and you wanted to know more about it or how it played out, you'd have to go back to their crappy website and struggle finding it. There's also no accountability associated with any of these local stations. So if they do run a story that somebody might be interested in, they'll usually call in some type of quote-unquote expert, and it usually ends up with the expert stating, "We'll have to wait and see," They don't want to invest too much time or effort in larger stories. They're not really into the investigative journalism, but they still want to give the story on air, so they'll invite a generic expert and they'll give the "we'll have to see" at the end of every single question. Remember, they're not in the business for real news. They want the fast and easy stuff to keep you watching. And of course, number one, the local celebrity. Now, I guess every small town has a local celebrity. Ours is a lawyer that gives Better Call Saul run for his money. But the one thing that really drives me crazy about the local news stations is they take these local celebrities that nobody else in the world has ever heard of and really pump them up to something they just aren't. They seem to be on the show every other day, and their expertise ranges from kitchenware all the way up to how to fix a rocket booster on a SpaceX rocket. And a problem with this is that the cheesy newscaster pretends like they buy into everything the expert's saying because they want them to make it look credible. Now, I'm sure I'm going to get some comments stating that I'm wrong about everything and that local news channels rule, and that's fine. But if you agree or disagree with anything, or you just want to add one to the list of things you hate about local news stations, well, leave me that comment in the comment section below.